next on Long Story Short.
Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox is Hawaii's first weekly television program produced and broadcast in high definition.
Aloha mai kako. I'm Leslie Wilcox. University of Hawaii Associate Professor Linda Ferruto is an accomplished math teacher who shows students how to use math to better understand their world. It's one of the reasons that in 2010, Linda Ferruto was named one of Hawaii's top 40 under 40 professionals. She's cerebral and she is physical. She was invited to train as an apprentice navigator on the double-hulled Polynesian voyaging canoe Hokulea, and she is picking up different legs of its current worldwide voyage. While math was an acquired passion, Ferruto took to the ocean right away as a keiki growing up in Hauula on the windward side of Oahu.
I had the most wonderful and blessed childhood. I grew up in a 12.5-mile stretch between Ka'awa and Kahuku, and to me, the most important things in life are ohana and values. I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I had to, go spearfishing with my dad and uncles, and borrow the plastic trays from McDonald's to go body surfing with my friends. But we always returned them. It just made
The plastic, so you're body surfing on the plastic trays. They're kind of small, aren't they?
Oh, but they're the perfect size if you reach out your arm like this.
Oh, like that?
Yeah.
Oh, body surfing, right.
And we always return them, just maybe not in the same condition.
But that would be which McDonald's? The one that...
La Ye. But my favorite was jumping into the dumpsters behind Hauula Shopping Center. We used to be Pay and Save there, and we grab out the cardboard boxes. My three younger brothers and I, Matt, Mike, and Dan, and we flatten the cardboard boxes and see who could ride them the fastest down the dirt hills behind Hauula Shopping Center. It was so fun.
Wow, dirt and mud or just dirt?
It was mostly dirt, but that's a great question because it was
Mudsliding would
better.
Go fast, right?
Exactly. Mudslides were the best. But that was my world.
So your parents saved a lot on toys for you?
I think so. Nature was provided all the toys that we needed. Yeah.
Now what's your family like?
My family is just amazing. They're kind, they're loving, unconditionally loving and generous, and supportive in everything that I've done so far. I also want to clarify that to me, ohana is not just necessarily the people that we're related to by blood, but to me, my definition of ohana is the extent to which we're willing to do something for another person, the commitment that we have to each other, the dedication to the projects and visions and love. And so my ohana really stretches from Hanabara days in Kahuku to transferring to Punahou as a 10th grader, leaving the islands for school and work, and then coming back home to be part of the University of Hawaii, the East-West Center, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the Polynesian Voyaging Society, Ohana, among others.
Did your parents explicitly give you values, or did you just soak them up by osmosis?
I would say both. I would say that it's extremely difficult to measure the size of my mom's heart.
Tell me about your mom. I believe she's a social worker, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So typically when the 4 kids would come home, and my dad, who's a mathematician, would say, okay, tell me what you did chronologically from the time you got out of school until the time you went to soccer practice or hula till the time you arrived home. And then my mom would say, honey, Linda, tell me how you feel.
Oh, you've got one on this side and one on that side. Perfect blend.
Yeah, my mom instilled in me a sense of social justice and equity. In all I do, I strive.
And your dad could measure it.
And my dad can measure it. Yeah, yes. My dad was very strict growing up, and he showed us his love in different ways. Instead of saying, I love you, he would show us his love by the things he did, his actions. For example, when my family moved from Kahuku to Punahou, I was in the 10th grade. My parents commuted from Honolulu to Laie 5 days a week, sometimes more. So
rather than make you commute, they commuted.
Yep.
Wow. How long did they do that?
Maybe about a decade.
Linda Ferruto's transition from Kahuku High School to Honolulu Prep Academy Punahou School in the 10th grade was not easy. And although her father is a mathematician, she struggled with the subject in school. That was a culture shock as well as an academic shock, right? What was that like for you socially?
It was socially very difficult at first. I remember eating lunch in the bathroom because I didn't have any friends, and it felt like a lot of folks already had their cliques. But life has a way of always opening a door, sometimes in the least expected ways, and I found a network at Punahou School of friends, lifelong friends who I cherish to this day.
How'd you find them?
Punahou has a very nurturing environment, and so I tried out for the swim team, track, marching band, jazz band, speech and debate, Golden Key, Honor Society, various clubs and activities where I learned to find my voice literally, like in speech and debate.
Were you getting A's by studying?
No, I was getting D's and F's. I had D's and F's. My first quarter, I received demerits because I wasn't passing my classes, and I just remember thinking, I'm physically, intellectually, mentally working as hard as I possibly can, but I'm still not passing. The hardest math class that I've ever taken to this day was Algebra 2 Trigonometry Honors in the 10th grade at Punahou School with Mrs. Craven and Mr. Best. So that was the year I transferred from Kahuku to Punahou. I was about 2.5 years behind my peers. But I really love a challenge, and maybe I'm a little bit stubborn too, but I didn't want to drop that class.
Did your father see you struggling with math so much? What were his thoughts about that?
He let me struggle.
Not an enabler.
He would say, hypothetically, let's say I was working on the derivative, just a math problem in calculus. He would say, okay, kid, you want help? I want you to prove to me the fundamental theorem of calculus, and then I'll help you. By the time I had proven a theorem or a postulate that would actually help me answer the question, I didn't need his help anymore. So it really was a life lesson, again, in helping me guide my path along learning about my own self, my identity, the values, what I was and am continuously willing to work hard for, to sail for.
Linda Ferruto's perseverance is a defining trait. She works hard on her goals. She earned a math degree from Brigham Young University in Utah, a master's in math education from Harvard University, and she studied at UCLA for her doctorate. After almost a decade on the continent, a job offer brought Ferruto home.
I'm very passionate about ethnomathematics. And
what is ethnomathematics?
Ethnomathematics is defined as intersections of culture, historical traditions, socio-cultural roots, among others. It encourages the investigations and adaptations of these concepts both within and outside of the classroom in real-world experiences. The goal?
That's the answer to the question then when kids say, how is this relevant to me? Why should I take this?
Exactly as you've said, the goal of ethnomathematics is to acknowledge that diverse systems and cultural frameworks have existed since the beginning of time, and to help educators foster pathways that lead to increased student engagement through disciplines like mathematics, science, technology, and engineering. I'm so grateful that the University of Hawaii, West Oahu, hired me. I was hired as the first math faculty to build the math program, and I was the only math faculty for the first 6 years as UH West Oahu transitioned from a 2-year to a 4-year liberal arts comprehensive university. It was an amazing opportunity to be part of that because I utilize hokule'a and ethnomathematics to help me build that program, to seek out help from the other campuses within the University of Hawaii system, all of who helped me design from the ground up, institutional learning outcomes, go through accreditation, admissions and graduation requirements, design a baccalaureate degree in mathematics, which would not have been possible without the framework that Hokulea and ethnomathematics provided. In 6 years, enrollment in mathematics courses increased 1,400%. We started off with a population of about 866 students in 2007, and when I left, there were approximately 2,400 students. We had a couple math classes when I started. There were upwards of 20 math classes by the time I left, and those are quantitative statistics, but qualitatively, when we take a look at the individual students who would say things like, I hated math. I used to think that it was boring and I felt no connection to it. But now I see that math is my culture, that math celebrates me, and mathematics validates who I am. And because of that, I want to be a secondary math teacher in Hawaii. I want to go back to my community on the leeward side of Oahu because this is what matters to us and our students. And I think that to me speaks volumes, much more than the quantitative part, but just knowing that the life of a student has in some way, shape, or form been transformed because that student is a link in generations and will help to raise many, many generations to come afterwards.
In 2013, Linda Ferruto accepted a job as an associate professor at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. There she continues to encourage her students to think about math in a new way, to integrate math into their everyday process and worldview. She's been recognized with Excellence in Teaching awards from the UH Board of Regents and the Math Association of America.
Could you tell me, if you're trying to introduce or recruit a student to the study of mathematics and they want to know why should I care, what do you tell them?
On the first day of class, what I always share with my students is the old adage that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I really believe that's true. People don't really care about your CV or your resume until you know that you're gonna walk beside them in their mathematical journey. And beyond that, in life as well, I always strive to help my students understand that their knowledge matters and that their culture matters, and what they bring to the mathematics classroom is centuries of rich mathematical traditions, and that just because their ideas of mathematics aren't written in the mathematics textbook, it doesn't mean that's not exactly what it is.
It seems like, Linda, as you talk, I'm thinking, very literally and, mathematics, and you always kind of take it metaphorically and to a more expansive place, a more visionary place. But it all starts with your sense of how things work, right?
So maybe we can go back to the Ethnomathematics and STEM Institute.
Sure.
So in an example of a literal example, a specific example of mathematics, actually STEM, is, for example, when we go to, from the heavens down to the valleys, when we go to Waimea Valley, we debark some of the trees with the workers there, and we talk about rock wall formations and the significance of the pohaku stones. And we talk about vectors, so direction and magnitude in the placement of these stones. So we need to know where they go because we don't have cement. And as we talk about vectors, we connect them to standards such as the Mathematics Common Core State Standards or the Next Generation Science Standards.
In terms of the makeup of the rock wall.
And the mathematical content involved with attention to precision and finding beauty, power, clarity, and precision in symbolic reasoning. So making the connections be really in P20 education, from early childhood education through higher ed. At the 400-year-old Waikoloa local fish pond with the Pacific American Foundation, we talk about ellipses and foci. So why are fish ponds oriented in a certain way? Why is the aowai, the connection between the ocean water and the fresh water, why does it have a certain placement? How does that relate to rates of change or derivatives? And how do we take that back to the classroom? And how do students understand what a derivative is? And how does that impact the way that they not just memorize them for a math test or a physics exam, but then carry it with them so that we can eventually prepare them for college, career, and community readiness.
University of Hawaii Associate Professor Linda Ferruto is using her knowledge of math principles as an apprentice navigator and education specialist on Hokule'a's worldwide voyage, which was launched in 2014. The journey is called Malama Honua, or Caring for Island Earth. Ferruto was there at the very beginning of the epic travels, that first leg from Hawaii to Tahiti.
Our kumu, like Nainoa and Bruce Blankenfeld, Kalepa Babayan, Bob Perkins, as part of my apprentice navigator and education specialist training, they would ask me questions like, Linda, what do you think is the purpose of education? When do you think a child starts learning? And where do you see yourself in 40 years? No pressure.
And do it in 25 words or less.
So we studied really, really hard. We looked at charts, we mapped things out. And because we had done all that work beforehand, as Uncle Pinky Thompson said, 90% is preparation. Voyaging is preparation. We'd done that preparation. So we'd reached the point where we had to trust ourselves. And that's really hard sometimes, between the squalls and the massive waves, to trust what your na'au is telling you. But I do know from experience that it helps you, and that you need to know that, because when you're trying to find coconut trees after 2,500 miles, something inside of you has got to trust itself and to know that we've done the preparation, and to also know that we never sail alone, and that even if there's 13 people on Hokule'a, thousands of people are guiding Hokule'a on her journey to Kealikahiki.
What was that first trip like on the first leg of the worldwide voyage? Tell me a little bit about that.
I remember when we left Hilo, Kumukahi, in May 2014, we waited until nature told us it was the right time. And it was the right time, because when we hit the intertropical convergence zone and the doldrums, which can typically be dark, very dark, we had the full moon, the light of the full moon guiding us like a spotlight. And we could see the door, this like quadrilateral at the end of the horizon, just showing us where we needed to guide Hokule'a to get through. We barely touched the sweep, which is how we steer the canoe, because it's Kealikahiki. Hokule'a was finding her way home from Hawaii to Tahiti. And we use principles of science, technology, engineering, and math to use weight distribution, forward or aft, so that we could guide the canoe into the wind or off the wind. We also used sails. We brought so many sails so we could use the dynamics of the winds to get us there. Rangiroa was the first land that we saw after 16 days of being out in the open ocean. And Nainoa said, okay guys, you know your calculations, but you need to put that on the side, and you need to trust your na'au. You need to trust what it's telling you, because those are the signs that are gonna help you find the land. And we did. I love the Promise to the Children, a document that we're carrying with us on Hokule'a around the world. And part of it reads, we believe the betterment of humanity is inherently possible, and we believe our schools from early childhood education through graduate studies are a powerful force for good. As we sail 47,000 nautical miles around the earth, we will share Hawaii's gifts of kindness and caring with our brothers and sisters. And our goal is also to listen as well. To me, the real highlight was just seeing the smiles of the children and having them experience our shared culture. And thousands have been able to come on board the floating classrooms, Hokule'a and Hikianalia, models of island sustainability and exploration of ancient wisdom and modern connections.
What's it like just day by day on the Hokule'a heading out across a huge expanse of ocean? And where do you sleep?
We sleep in the hulls. The hulls are pretty deep, and there's a platform that goes on top of the hull with a little puka, so you can descend below. And when you descend below, we keep like food, water, miscellaneous supplies, and then so you have a puka, and then there's a hatch cover. On top of the hatch cover is a plywood. On top of the plywood is a foam mattress. It's maybe a few inches thick. That's what we sleep on. And then there's a canvas tent above us. But we're not dry.
You're not dry.
No, we're not dry.
We
are not dry. Well, people like me who are apprentice and at the very bottom, we're never dry.
But you could still sleep well?
Because we know we're exactly where we need to be. And so when our master navigators, they sleep at the back of the canoe where it's drier. But eventually, maybe we'll get to move back a little bit more with each voyage.
Linda Ferruto says navigator Nainoa Thompson, one of her mentors, asked her several times to become an apprentice before she said yes. Ferruto had to be sure she was ready for the monumental responsibility.
I realize that this is a lifelong commitment and that this is something that I'm pledging to do for the rest of my life, not just for myself, but to help in schools and to help through education, P20 education, and beyond the classroom through place-based education. And these are things that I think about every day because this is my commitment to honor my teachers. This is my path. This is not something I asked for. I never asked to be an apprentice navigator. I never asked to be on that first leg from Hawaii to Tahiti. It's a gift that comes with lifelong kuleana, and I embrace it.
It's a lot of kuleana, and you're looking for you're on your way to having that burden.
I do think about that, and let's say if I could share with you a quote, just because I think navigating past, present, and future visions is one of my pillars and something that I think about every single day. As we were getting ready to leave for Tahiti, Nainoa called me up about 8:30 at night. He's like, "Hey Linda, what you doing?" Oh, but Leslie, I was really watching TV, but I didn't want to tell him that.
I was looking at the stars, Nainoa.
Exactly, and yes, I saw this at this declination. We ended up meeting about 10:30 at night, and we went walking at Paiko's, and
okay, that's East Honolulu Lagoon. Okay.
And we watched the star constellations, Hokule'a, Hawaii's zenith star, and her companion star, Hikianalia, so Arcturus and Spica, just rising in the heavens. And Nainoa imparted wisdom that I hope I will always carry with me. And he said, "Linda, you have to have a vision. If you don't, someone will take it away from you, or they'll give you theirs." And that's really important. We need to always be grounded in what we're willing to sell for.
At the time of this conversation in 2015, Linda Ferruto had sailed on 3 legs of Hokule'a's voyage around the globe. Mahalo to Math Education Associate Professor Linda Ferruto of the University of Hawaii at Manoa for sharing your story with us. And thank you for joining us. For PBS Hawaii and Long Story Short, I'm Leslie Wilcox. Aloha hui hou.
For audio and written transcripts of all episodes of Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox, visit pbshawaii.org. To download free podcasts of Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox, go to the Apple iTunes Store or visit pbshawaii.org.
two of my favorite places on Hokule'a are the front and the back. On the back is a plaque. It's for our Na'aumakua, and it starts with Pele. And when we have the gods and goddesses, and up to this day, people who have gone before us, Papa Mau Piailug, our very first teacher and master navigator. When we have Lacey Veach, NASA astronaut and Punahou alum, who says, you need to take Hokule'a around the world because Hawaii is a laboratory for living well on islands, including island Earth. And when you have Eddie Aikau, whose plaque on the front of the canoe, so that's my other favorite part, it reads, no greater love hath the man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. And I'm filled with courage, and I'm filled with peace, that I know I'm in the right place.